Welcome to The Pestle, reviewing and breaking down movies to look for insights into the movie-making process. Hosted by My Little Buttercup, has the sweetest a smile. Now, let's dim the lights and start the show.
Welcome, everybody, to The Pestle. Today's show is brought to you by Bash Steed's Greatness Academy. Don't settle for goodness, go for great with Sebastian Steed's Greatness Academy. Welcome, everyone, to The Pestle. I am Wes.
And I am Todd.
And we're filmmakers. We make things and we review films to talk about what we see when other people make things, and digest and process a story, and then, throw out some of our notes and things we notice as filmmakers, actors, writers, musicians, producers, editors, and pretty much everything. At this level of the game, you kind of get used to wearing all hats when required, which is usually required. I don't know. It takes a lot of ingredients, to bring it all together, and therefore we like it well shaken, not stirred. And so, Todd, what are we covering today?
That's a good little segue there.
Thanks.
Today we are covering Cocktail. So if you haven't seen this film, please pause the episode and go watch it, because we're going to spoil all the things.
We'll certainly do our best. We'll take a brief look at some of the cinematography, wide angles, an edge light moment that I really liked or found useful. And then we'll also talk about some of the story and writing, talk about money and cutting to the chase and other such stuff and things and stuff.
And a quick synopsis of the film. A talented New York City bartender takes a job at a bar in Jamaica and falls in love. It's directed by Roger Donaldson, written by Heywood Gould, cinematography by Dean Semler. It's featuring Tom Cruise as Bryan Flanagan, Brian Brown as Douglas Coughlin, Gina Gershon as Coral, and Elisabeth Shue as Jordan Mooney.
So what are you going to do now?
Make $1 million?
Well, in the meantime, I'll ask McDougal to give you a job while you're waiting.
No way!
It was good enough for your old man.
So is arthritis.
He supported a family just like you're going to have to do.
No, not me. I am not falling into that trap.
Every man wakes up one fine morning with a wife and kids. Where'd they come from? They weren't there last time I looked. That's because most things in life, good and bad, just kind of happen to you.
Well, I'm gonna make things happen for me.
Sure you will. That'll be $1 for the beer.
What? Your nephew comes home from serving his country, and he doesn't even rate a beer on the house?
Well, you don't get rich giving things away.
Oh, how do you get rich?
I'm going to give you your first lesson. On the house. I've been here 25 years, never bought a drink. Right, Eddie?
Yeah, I can testify to that.
In 1969, the Mets won the World Series. Eddie here starts pounding on the bar, demanding a round on the house. Drinks for everybody, he says. Tell him what I did, Eddie.
He whacked me with a club. Almost knocked the eye out of my head.
That's your way of making money?
You outwork, outthink, outscheme, and outmaneuver. You make no friends. You trust nobody. And you make damn sure you're the smartest guy in the room whenever the subject of money comes up.
I don't know, Uncle Pat. Doesn't sound like too much fun to me.
Fun? You want fun, you go play at the beach.
All right, so 1988, Tom Cruise, Elisabeth Shue. This was like a childhood staple for me. And as we know, that from past episodes, that doesn't guarantee a very good movie. In fact, it almost guarantees a very bad movie. And so I'm curious if we have another Miami Vice on our hands, or not. Like 2025, this is nearly 40 years later. How is Cocktail standing up as an adult watching it for the first time?
Oh, man. Oh, okay. I love you. And I think that you are one of the smartest people when it comes to movies. And just telling stories. I fucking hated this movie. I'm sorry. There was literally nothing about this movie that I liked. I'm sure if I watched it another 2 or 3 times, which I will not do, that will find some other things. This is like a kind of movie that, like, if you grew up watching it and and whenever you see it and you see Elisabeth Shue, you have feelings of nostalgia. There is no way in God's green earth anyone would watch this movie nowadays and think, oh yeah, this holds up, or in any way. I mean, like I thought the performances, including Tom Cruise, whom I do love, and we've talked about him before on this podcast about how like I think we think he's a good actor, a really good actor, and we think that he is exactly what Hollywood needs right now to like build up, creating great stories and taking yourself to the limits of what you can do to tell these stories and respecting your audience and loving what you do. Like, there's nobody better in Hollywood than him. His performance is stale, except for one moment, when he's reading Doug's letter, right? And he gets emotional, totally legitimate. And in terms of 1988 performances as well, I think is like a really great moment. I feel like I don't know. I never really cared if he won or lost, because he seemed like a total douchebag 99% of the time, like a womanizer, and not that he like slept with everybody, like he had a girlfriend that, he hooked up with a girl and it became his girlfriend, right? So until Doug stole her away from him, which was to teach him a lesson. Like, what a shitty friend. Sorry. There's better ways to do that, man. Anyway, and then for him to meet Jordan, have a montage of a great time, a life-changing time, and then one little bet from Doug, and he goes and sleeps with this other woman. It's not like he got her and left with her. I was expecting him to leave with her, for Jordan to see them leaving, and then like him to wake up alone, right? Mm-hmm. But she's mad at him because she saw them leaving together. But that's not what happened. He ended up sleeping with her. No need for him to do that. No need. He left with her. He won the bet. He didn't need to do that. And yet he did it, which completely, I lost all interest in him as a character in that moment. When he woke up, I was like, I hate this guy. I hate him. And mostly because they set everything up. Like, I feel like he cheated on me. That's exactly what I felt like. I felt Jordan's betrayal. Yeah. And then he finds out that she leaves and goes back to New York and does nothing. He starts a relationship with this woman, and is her boy toy, and then he goes back to her and once, he's like, I deserve a second. No, you don't deserve a second chance. Like, that line made my skin crawl. Yeah. No, you don't deserve a second chance. I hope she never talks to you again. I hope you never see your child. You're a complete loser. And you know what I mean? And then I thought most of the lines were pretty cheesy. I think that Bryan Brown's performance was really good. Mm-hmm. Particularly on the boat, when he's talking about how he lost all of his money and he's completely destroyed. I mean, I think that performance was really good. But I don't know. I don't know what that world is like. I will also say this, that world might be like this. And this is a view, or it might have been like this in the 80s. And this is a view of what that was like. But it also just seemed very staged too. Maybe bars were like this, where everyone was just gathered around the bartender and, cheering him on. And, he flips a bottle and everyone's like, yay. And maybe that was like that. I don't know. I was 8 years old when this came out, so I have no idea. But I haven't been in a bar where that's been like that. So Yeah. What I want is for you to tell me what you love about it. First off, how you grew up with it, and the endearing and nostalgic aspects of it. Because it's valid. Like, I also don't take away from anybody who likes this movie or any song or anything.
Yeah.
This is just what I like, my first viewing as a 45-year-old man in 2025 of Cocktail, which is almost 40 years old. So this is just me. And while you're not going to tear down my opinion, I'm totally not going to tear down yours or anybody else's. I know this is like a cult classic and everybody loves this movie and refers to it and everything. And that's great. And I love that people love art. And I'm happy this movie was made. I just didn't respond to it.
I think that's totally fair. And
okay.
After like, there's the last time I think I watched this, I mean, at least 4 or 5 years ago, maybe during like COVID or something, I just snuggled up to it. But before that, I think it's been about 10 years when I got the Blu-ray. And whenever I got the Blu-ray, it had probably been another, I don't know, 15 years, before that since I'd seen it. And so watching it for the first time, getting that Blu-ray, I made a whole night of it. I had a girlfriend at the time and I was like, nah, you're not coming over. This is a me night. And
okay.
I bought like all these bottles of liquor. I'd bought a brand new like Vitamix or Blendtec, whatever the fancy one is, blender, and I like bought all these.
Will it blend?
Yeah.
Just take that movie, toss it in. Sorry, I'm sorry. I had to. Bought a blender. It's gonna have a night of it,
and it blends beautifully with some bitters.
This is the best. Yeah, keep
so I made this whole night of it where I had lined up like 5 different cocktails that I made throughout the film, themed throughout the film. So like I started with a beer and then I moved on to whatever. I think I had a martini and I didn't make a turquoise blue. I didn't know how to make any of that fancy stuff that he was doing. But like pina colada. And so I made a whole fun night of it and I had a great time by myself. I think I was texting her while I was doing it, but I just had a really wonderful time because there is a lot of nostalgia. And I think as a kid, and again, this came out in 88, so I probably watched it. I was like a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, and just loved it. You have to understand, I didn't watch a lot of TV shows as a kid. I watched some, but 90% of my like media diet was movies. And so it was not unusual for me to just sit around watching Cocktail as a 7-year-old. Like that was just a part of my diet. And I mean, it's hard not to love like Tom Cruise for me as a kid, and you have to think this was in the middle of an incredible era. In 5 years, Tom Cruise, let's kind of recap, within like from 83 to 88, the movies that came out with Tom Cruise: The Outsiders, Risky Business, All the Right Moves, Legend, Top Gun. That's back-to-back Scott movies. He went Ridley Scott to Tony Scott. Which is incredible in a 12-month span. The Color of Money, Cocktail, and Rain Man. Like he had a 5-year span where he was just killing, and it only went on from there, right? And so like it was pretty peak of like Tom Cruise fever just getting started. And so watching him on screen, and then Elisabeth Shue, right? Charles in Charge, like she was just glowing off the screen. And so I was in love with their relationship, and just on a beach. Like I grew up in the middle of Texas, not even like the coast of Texas. I was in the middle of Texas. And so the idea of like going to New York and going to Jamaica, like was just exotic. Both of them were completely like, captivating for me as a kid, let alone the idea of this guy who's trying to find his way in the world, and he's getting this mentorship. And I love Coughlin. I love Coughlin's laws. Like as a kid, like never show surprise, never lose your cool. I was like really trying to adopt that ideology of like, don't be surprised when things happen in life. Don't in the moment, like try to process it and create an emotional distance. Like I really appreciated so many of the things that was being given to young Flanagan. And I also hated them for like going out, and he wasn't cheating on Jordan because, I mean, they had just met. This was a summer fling, potentially more, but you definitely get the sense of love. And what he did wasn't right. And you hate him for throwing away something that was beautiful. And I was like, yeah, what the hell, man? And then like watching that relationship still kind of turn out okay was like, okay, there's something on the other side of that wasn't money related. Because he walks away from money. This thing that he is, fascinated from the very beginning. I mean, we're like 3 or 4 minutes in, and we're hearing his uncle give him advice about money. And we're hearing young Flanagan say, I'm going to go make $1 million. And his uncle's like, this isn't how you do it. You outsmart, outthink, outmaneuver. Like, it's out-scheme. It's like, bro, like this. And I agree with Bryan. Like, that doesn't sound like fun. That sounds horrible. And to watch him do those things, right? He does out scheme and outmaneuver, and he finds out that he doesn't love it. That's not what he wants in his life, because he ends up with the rich chick. He lands a rich chick, and he ends up just hating himself, hating her, hating life. He's very miserable. We're watching him get drunk, and it doesn't look like fun. We've been watching him drink, for the past hour, having a great time, and suddenly there's something really, not glamorous about it. And then we see him run to Coughlin afterwards, who's also got his own bar, and he's married his rich chick, and he squandered it, but he's just miserable otherwise. I think if Coughlin had actually loved Carrie, they would have been okay. She would have been okay with how everything was going, and he didn't tell her. He was lying to her, and so there's all these like poisonous dynamics that are going on around money that I think as a kid I was really imbibing. As a broke, very, very poor kid, I was looking at it. I was like, yeah, you know what? There is something better about working hard and deserving of the things you create and deserving of the love. And I think some of that really soaked all the way through. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Bump that. Go for the beautiful woman who loves you despite you're broke. You know what? And she's willing to throw away her own money because she was also living in a way that says, I don't care about the money, right? She was earning her own living. She was trying to also earn her way to earning her own living doing the thing that she loved, which was painting. And then you have, I keep wanting to say Tom Cruise. And you have Flanagan, who's going to do the thing that he's come to love, serving, right? He's a bartender. It's almost the epitome of a working class, right? He's in service, and he's also serving people things that they don't necessarily need. He's serving them joy. A night out on the town is something that we all love. And his uncle seems to be doing it in a way that's very bitter and seedy, right? He's serving, I don't know if they're alcoholics, but you get a sense of alcoholism by just being in his bar. And it just feels like, okay, maybe it's just the neighborhood pub where friends come together, and we just never really get that sense because Flanagan's never at those moments. Cool. But whenever you see Flanagan at the end, he's like creating an atmosphere of joy. And it's like, yeah, you know what? If he makes his $1 million or not, I don't know. But you definitely get the sense that he's doing this thing that he loves. And there's a lot of joy in that. And so I think that's where a lot of all my nostalgia comes from, is like really enjoying Flanagan's journey of understanding what life is really about, what it's really not. He's still at the end wanting to do great things with his bar and to make a lot of money. And he's also chosen the terms that he's going to do that on. He's not going to do it with someone else's seed money, because that's kind of the hidden thing that they don't elaborate on. He saved up his own money. That's how he was able to do it over the next 9 months, because he had spent those 3 years in that cutscene down in Jamaica and hustling in New York and saving up his money. And therefore he'd probably saved up 80, 90 grand, given the numbers that he was throwing around, doing that. And so, yeah, by the time Jordan is fully pregnant and they've run away together, he doesn't need that 10 grand her dad's throwing in his face, because he's been saving. At that point, he's probably already got 80, 90. And over the next season, he probably added another 30 or 40 grand. And so, yeah, you know what? He's going to launch in style and and crush it, or not. I don't know. Maybe he's learned the lesson that Coughlin didn't in all his study, reading the books and taking a few classes. Maybe that pays off. I think it does. That's the cocktail that I live with. Mm-hmm. But I will say the view that I had last night or yesterday, very different, because I went in watching it, and this happens a lot with me whenever we revisit something from a long time ago. I'll sit down and say, okay, how is Todd watching this? I start looking at it through your eyes of like, how is someone who doesn't have all that nostalgia going to see this thing? And so I watched it very soberly, and it wasn't good. It really wasn't good.
So you knew what you were walking into today.
I did. So I'm not shocked at all. I was like, oh, this is going to be bad. And therefore, I'm going to enjoy it because this is funny to me.
Okay.
I think that's also why I wanted to see it and review it now, is because I don't know until I'm forced to actually sit and watch it through your eyes. Because I could have watched it if we weren't doing the show today. I could have sat and watched it and just still had a really good time. But whenever I know we're going to have a real conversation about this, a film study session for me is way different from just, grab a drink and popcorn and enjoy it. So I was able to actually watch it very soberly, and I was like, oh yeah, this is bad. It's not like something that you can grow to love. Like, oh, you know what? It just takes, nope, this is just a bad movie. It's
kudos to you for spotting it. like being able to take yourself outside of the nostalgia and look at it for, in a pragmatic way of what it is.
Yeah, because there's things that are dated and era appropriate. Like the music is super cheesy.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I don't hold that against it, right? And I'm sure you didn't either.
Totally.
But there are other things that are like, no, they cut some corners. This movie really, let's use needs in quotes here. It needs another 30 minutes to earn some of these beats, because it moves through so much drama so fast that it just doesn't earn the moments. There's a scene in between the fight in New York where, Coughlin gets Coral to sleep with him, and he breaks a bottle, right? Flanagan breaks a bottle, threatens him, or the reverse, right? He punches him, and Coughlin breaks a bottle, and is like, And then we cut from that straight to Jamaica, and there's one scene, and then Coughlin's back. Doug is suddenly right back in his life, and they're fine, and they're buddies again. You're like, holy crap, y'all really got to let that breathe. And they didn't.
Let that breathe. Give me a montage or something, or 30-second montage of him, I don't know, being in Jamaica. No, we're just there, and he's been there for 3 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
If you're doing this today, you really this might play a little bit better in a limited series, like a 6-7 episode thing where you're really letting the character of Flanagan develop. Maybe you're expanding a little bit on his family. Maybe you get to see him coming out of boot camp a little bit more, getting into the city and really having his nose rubbed in the fact that he's uneducated, he's broke, he has no contacts. But even that sequence was so corny, of him going to Wall Street and Madison Avenue and trying to land a gig. It was just hyper corny. What really doesn't help are these wide angle close-ups of people screaming into the camera. That's just, it's so bad. It's bad.
I mean, I don't know. I want to be nice.
Yeah.
But you're giving me kind of the okay to tear it apart. I mean,
Load
I literally
up. Here's your ammo. I'll give you the ammo and you can blast
I
off.
literally hate this movie. I hate the characters. I hate what they do. I hate what they stand for. I hate the result. Where he just gets everything he wanted and he's happy and everything is great and drinks in the house and it just, he's a dick. He just really is. He's like the antithesis of everything that like I like in a character. And there's really no cost for him. There really isn't. I mean, what does he lose in the end? I mean, he loses his friend, kills him, but he couldn't have done anything about that. Like,
true.
You know, in fact, he made out with his wife.
Well, his wife tried to make out with him.
No, he kissed his wife. No. Do not forgive him of that. There was a good 3 or 4 seconds he was making out with his wife. And I don't care that he said no after that.
Yeah.
You know, like this is, there's really no like endearing thing about, I just, you know, I when I'm watching movies, I think everybody, when you're watching a movie, you look for someone you can relate to. You look for someone who you're like, I want to be that person, or I want to be like that person, or this person is me, or like, this is what I would like, oh yeah, I'm this person and this is what I would do to get out of this situation or whatever, or he did that. Okay. Yeah. I try to relate myself to somebody. And usually if you're watching a Tom Cruise movie, you are the spy, right? You are you are Tom Cruise, right? When you're watching a movie, you put yourself in that situation because you want to be that, right? Or you want to be this young kid who just got out of the military and he's going to New York and he's going to make a life and he's going to like succeed or whatever, and he becomes like super a famous bartender or whatever, and you want to be him, as a guy at least, as a girl you want to be with him, as a guy you want to be him. I did not want to be him. Not one moment. I didn't see myself in him at all, and I felt like it was so cheesy. Like you pointed out, there were so many cheesy moments, and I'm just sitting there thinking. And the last thing I was thinking was, okay, 1988. This is, it's dated, but and maybe I should forgive it for that. There were plenty of great movies that came out in '88 that are still great. Or around that time that are still great. I mean,
Rain Man,
Top Gun, Rain Man,
about, yeah.
Rain Man. Come on, one of the such a great film.
I don't know. We haven't seen that in a long time.
You're right. I haven't seen it in like 10 years, 15 years. It might suck. But here's the thing. It might suck, but at least the story is interesting and new. And I feel like this is like a story that had already been told a bunch of times. A guy's struggling. He meets a girl. They fall in love. He screws it up. And then he says he's sorry. And she says no. And then he says he's sorry again in a different way. And she says yes. And then they end up together. That is the absolute script for a movie like this. I knew exactly how it was going to end up. Exactly. The moment I knew that Elisabeth Shue was in this movie, I knew exactly what the ending was going to be.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I got. There was no surprise. I mean, the only surprise really was when he found Doug, who killed himself. Like that was a surprise. I will say that for sure. But nothing else was really a surprise. Oh, and when Doug does turn up in Jamaica and Bryan is like smiling at him. I don't care how much time is gone. I'm not smiling at you, bro. Sorry. Get the F out of here. Yeah. So I guess I was trying to look for an excuse.
Yeah.
To be honest, I was trying to look for an excuse as to why it was how it was. And I honestly couldn't find one if I was looking at it in terms of what was coming out around this time. So,
yeah, I think conceptually, I really, really love the idea of having a flawed hero, a flawed protagonist. Like, I don't mind Bryan having a big screw up like that. Actually, in fact, I think it makes the movie more rich to have someone who has a very stated goal. He's very driven, right? He's very money hungry and money focused. And he needs to discover that he doesn't love it that much, not enough to sell his soul. And that is the lesson he learns. And I think that's what they were trying to do with the final moments, right? Of finally, the woman he loves is rich and wealthy and can provide all this. Except in order to have that, he can't have her. And so having him, the goal of the movie, and it doesn't work, but the goal was to have him then accept her despite the fact that he won't have any money because of it. And that's his arc, right? Of growing and discovering that I love her more than I love money. right? And even her name is a play on money. It's Mooney, but it's money with an extra O because that's how much money they have. And so it's him getting an opportunity to reject money for love and discover the great thing in life. The problem is that it doesn't feel like enough in those moments. It doesn't feel like that's enough to earn our love for him back. If it's enough for her, fine. I don't belabor her that. It's hard to it's Elisabeth Shue, so it's hard to kind of belabor anything or find faults in anything with her. But for us, like watching now, it's like, I don't think that's enough, especially like what you were saying, like all his excuses and reasoning are so jacked up. They're so like not enough of a realization that you don't excuse it, you don't forgive him, and you don't feel like he's paid the cost of getting the ending that he deserves, as you were saying. Although losing Doug is a rough one. That's enough, I think. I think maybe that's the other thing they were trying to do is letting him see the end result of living life for money and shoving his face in that was the shock for us to feel like, you know what, life is too short. Don't go that direction. Go for the thing that you love, no matter what it means. If it means being blue collar for the rest of your life, fine. I don't know. I think that's the goal that they were going for. And with Doug, it almost puts you over that hump, maybe. But I think now watching this in 2025, I'm like, no. If I'm writing this again, I give him slightly different underpinnings or something else has to happen, especially on a dialogue level of that conversation between him and Jordan of understanding like this was whatever toxic masculinity. You don't say that, but you have this version of that. Like I felt pressured to perform for guys in a way that his self-worth is coming from money and the idea that he deserves her, the rich woman, and Jordan at the end of it, comes from a place of lack. Like he's trying to convince himself that he is worth those things because he lacks it. He lacks self-worth. And so in order to deserve those things in life, money and women with money, he has to find a place in him that is aside from that finds self-worth in him. And that's the thing we never see. We never see him find his self-worth. It always is in combination with people who have money. And I think maybe seeing him spend more time by himself, earning money and earning his way in life, like watching him, maybe this is another one of those elements that worked for me as a kid, but watching him reject her in front of all her fancy friends, the rich woman in the art gallery, I think that was another moment of rejecting high society that we wanted to see him go through, of rejecting that whole element of wealth and fame, because, it's a famous art guy. And this whole movie is getting the idea of that wealth and fame are kind of tied together. And so him rejecting all of that in this one scene, I think it's supposed to give us the impression that he's having this realization of, I don't want fame, I don't want money in this way and on these terms. And yeah, I think I just wanted to see more of him discovering that in a more personal, less volatile way. And there's just another like 20, 30 minutes of groundwork that needed to take place before we could have that, instead of just, montage. And that's all we ever get. Like even after Doug dies, we just get a montage of him moping around the city. And then he goes to Jordan. It's like, we need a whole other set of characters actually that help flesh these other elements in his life out. Like his uncle is a really good step towards that. It's just not enough. And we need to see either more time with him or another set of friends who are the antithesis of Doug. Because Doug is the one who's telling him, look for your angel. And he's giving him this line of like, education isn't the way, earning your living isn't the way, the blue collar lifestyle isn't the way. you just want the fast way. The fast way is through using people, which is what his uncle's kind of doing. That's his uncle's vibe. So we need a whole other set of friends who are the antithesis of that. And we never really get that. Like The Devil Wears Prada, I feel like is the better version of this. And I think that's a wonderful movie, and it still holds up. And I think that's a really new, fresh way to have this whole movie thrown in our faces. So I don't know. Does any of that resonate?
Yes. And I do want to say I hate that she has money. I don't think that was the way to go. I like the moment that I found out that she was rich, I was like, oh, this is so freaking cheap. It's such a cheap trope.
Tonal whiplash, right? You just constantly going to one extreme to the other in an edit.
Yes. And it's, let's say, for example, they wanted her to, they just had to have her have money. Okay, fine. Well, then her father offers him $10,000. Like, even by 1988 standards, that is garbage. Yeah. So, and the point there, what point are you trying to make? That she has a shitty father? Because that's a pretty good point, but that has nothing to do with the story itself. Have him make his dreams come true. Offer to make his dreams come true. Yeah. That could be money, but probably it's something that he's been going after this whole time. And just going after generic money is not a good motivation for a character in a movie. I'm sorry, but it's not, because there is no cap to it. Mm-hmm. You could say, I want to make $1 million, but what if you make 1.5? Or what if you could make 2? Or you could make 500? That, like, money is just so freaking arbitrary. You need a goal of, like, I want to open my own bar. Okay, well, you have a lot of red tape. Maybe you can't get it approved by the city and or whatever. And this guy knows someone who can get it approved, and not only approved, but he'll bankroll you. Like, okay, now your dream, your physical, actual dream that you've been wanting this entire film is on the line. And then you say no, if you have to make her rich. The better thing is to make her not rich. And then you don't need a million other characters like you were suggesting. You just need her. And she is the motivation. Her poorness, is because she's the only thing that matters in this whole movie. Supposed to be. And so you'll lose everything, but you'll get her. And it doesn't matter what anybody else says, or if there's 40 other people in the story, she's the only thing that you want, despite the ability to have everything else. So, and then you let go of either all of your dreams, or the thing that was going to capture you were going to get, that you've been going after, in order to be with her. If you have to make this thing happen, and you bring a kid into the picture, like I just, that is more motivation for her to want to be with him for the wrong freaking reason. Yeah. Right? Like say what you will, but people a woman getting pregnant and a couple being pregnant is more motivation to stay together. I don't care what you say. You could say in a film, that's not a reason to be together. Fine, it's not a reason. You could say that in a film, but in real life, it is. Yeah. It is a motivation for her to get back with him, even though she shouldn't. So she has money, so he wants to go after her. Whether he turns down $10,000 measly or not, he wants to go after her. That's a motivation. 2, she's pregnant. That's another motivation. How about she has no money? How about she's not pregnant? How about he will lose everything to be with her? That is a story right there. How about if you have to give her money and you have to make her pregnant, she doesn't get back with you, and you find a way on your own to make a life without her, and be a father, and be a good man, a good person, whatever. Now it's a story, but this is such a Hollywood happy ending garbage story that all of the wrong things happen. Yeah. Like, he doesn't lose anything. He didn't lose. I'm not even counting Doug, because Doug did that himself. He,
wasn't his fault at all.
Right. It wasn't Bryan's fault at all. He did nothing. He showed up and the next day he's dead. Bryan had no idea how bad it was until Doug just told him. And then he left, made out with his wife, and came back, and then Doug's dead. He did nothing to spur Doug's thing. So he loses nothing. Bryan loses nothing. That's it. And he gains everything, even after all of the stuff that he did and and everything. So it felt very much like the rug was, pulled out from under me multiple times. And like this, to me, is the 100% wrong way to write a film. And I think you think so too in a lot of ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I love everything you're saying. I think you're absolutely right. And it brings up the other element that I really don't like, is her father is such a cartoon villain. Like he's just kind of stomping around. And yeah, $10,000 is enough to buy someone off. And I also don't buy someone of that magnitude of wealth rejecting his daughter, like because she's going to be with someone he doesn't like. I'm sorry, but
agreed.
They come off as old money, and old money sees longer distance than that. That's very myopic for old money. And I see him being more like, okay, I'll wait you out. Like, you're not going to be around for long, And so I would have liked to see him, on top of everything you're saying, I would have liked to have seen him play it way more smooth. Ask him, hey, great to meet you. Be much more snaky and insidious, and be like, what, Bryan, okay, you're a bartender now. Great. What's your dream? Like, is that what you want to do forever? Like, no, I'd love to open up my own chain of, okay, great. How much do you think that cost? 75 grand. Is that it? Oh, wow. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. $500,000 right now. Here's a check.
Yeah.
All you have to do, not date her. You can still see your kid. You can still be a dad. You just don't come around here anymore. And then see, now you're something along those lines. Suddenly the pressure is really off and you buy into their family dynamic. Because I'm sorry, if she's turning out that well, I just don't think he's that big of a douchebag. Her dad can't be that awful of a person. It just doesn't make sense. But I completely agree. There's a really good movie buried deep underneath this thing.
Way down.
Way deep down. Uh-oh, hold on.
And then and then the question there is it's so deep, is it worth even telling? Because there are so many other movies that have told the same freaking story.
At this point, you and I could just spin off and write our own mocktail movie. Exactly.
I mean, yes.
Literally, you could make mocktail.
In fact, that works on so many levels. It's a mockumentary and a mocktail. It's perfect. Okay, there you go. There's your $1 million idea, filmmakers. Go for it.
A new franchise.
Mocktail.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's probably so far removed that at a certain point, it's no longer this movie at all.
And honestly, this is one of those films where, like, I know we want to, like, be gracious to people who made the film. I don't give a shit. I just hate this movie and everything about it. So, I'm glad people had jobs and, to make this movie. Great. But am I happy that it exists? No, I think it's garbage. That's just my opinion. Sorry. I know you love it, and I love you. I love you, Wes. And I'm glad that it exists for you and that you had it when you were 8 and 7 or whatever. And I am happy for that. So,
yeah, I think the other thing that really throws me off in this movie is whenever I was doing this rewatch is Coral. Like, first off, Gina Gershon was so hot. Watching her, I was like, whoa, that's a woman. And this rewatch, though, I was like, she slept with Doug because Bryan told him what? What about their sex life that we heard was so off limits that he said that was worth her going and sleeping with Doug for? Like, that was such a random, like, why? Like, you seemed very serious about Bryan Flanagan, and you're like giving him advice and you're wanting to help him build his business. And suddenly like tells his best friend that he was sleeping with you, and that's enough reason for you to like go. It felt like they were together. So like that's cheating, and you go cheat on him for that. Like that doesn't make any. That it was such a whiplash moment of like, why are you doing this? Like you're just that big of a trash person. I don't know. The one element that does make sense is I've always gotten the sense of service life being very chaotic. And so that somewhat made sense that Doug would do that, but she didn't make sense on that level. Like Coral seemed like a fashion photographer kind of person. Like, what's going on with you? Yeah, that was there's a lot of whiplash that happens in this movie. And yeah, I think if I give it, I probably do need to give it a few years before I can come back and still find my love in it after this happens. You know, for me, this definitely happens where I just need a break, and then I'll have my nostalgia glasses back on and I can like go back and make a few drinks, enjoy, you know, a sex on the beach, a schnapps made from peach. Love this movie. I didn't know what a barman poet was. There's so many things I didn't understand as a kid watching this that I was like, I didn't understand that he was saying schnapps. I thought he was saying sex on the beach is not made from peach. I was like, what does that mean? Like I thought the guy in the cafe, I thought he was saying he had feeder tickets. I was like, what are feeder tickets? And he was saying theater. And so I just literally, as a kid, just did not understand so much of what was going on in this movie. But
gotcha.
Yeah, I still have a soft place. Like that won't be ruined long term. In the short term, I can be, you know, level-headed. I can see things. I can take off the glasses. I can see things for what they are, Todd, not what I want them to be. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I believe it. Yeah, of course. That's what makes you great. You can do that. You can look at this and say, "Oh, ouch."
This doesn't work, does it?
Okay.
That's okay.
All right.
I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
There was one thing cinematography that I was like, "Oh, that's pretty nice." And it's not. Look, if you go look at this shot, it's not like the most gorgeous thing in the world. But there is this moment towards the end, whenever he's leaving her apartment, and he's kind of washed out. But it doesn't look that bad because there's this really strong edge light pushing off his cheek. And I was like, oh, that's a really interesting way, just very simply to add a little bit of dynamic look to an otherwise washed out image. And they do that throughout the film. There's a lot of, you know, traditional kind of 3-point lighting going on. But I really just was like, oh, you know what, if I'm ever struggling and I'm like, this is very washed and I don't know how to keep the scene honest while also giving something, just a kicker coming off the edge, really helped like break up the pattern there in a way that I was like, oh, you know what, that works. I like it. I dug that. And then, that was pretty much it. I think more or less we covered the other like story notes with our club. We gave him the Eddie treatment. Eddie was just like, they beat me with a club. I nearly lost my eye. He's like, he asked for a free drink and he nearly died.
Yeah.
Damn, Eddie. You're loyal, bro.
Cheapskate.
Yeah. Nice. What are you gonna recommend this week? What's your palate cleanser from Cocktail?
Peaky Blinders.
Ooh, nice.
Which we have. I find it hard that we haven't recommended this, but yeah, Peaky Blinders for sure. Just like, you know, the cinematography, the acting, you know, like the long story arcs and stuff, and obviously Tom Hardy is otherworldly in it. And one of the reasons is I saw a clip that's been just like in my feed all over the place where he gets up into Killian's face and he says, "What line am I supposed to have crossed?" And that scene is just unbelievable. And I heard something around it where like Killian wasn't prepared for the pacing that Hardy brought to that line, or to those lines, that performance, I guess. And so his reaction is real, like his just like being like, what? Because he like backs up several times and it gets up in his face, and he backs up and gets up in his face, and It's like like that one scene is like a master class of how you deliver words and the emphasis on certain words and why and the motivation for emphasis, and it's just unbelievable. It really is. It's like one of my favorite moments of the whole show. And I mean, I haven't finished the entire show, to be honest. I haven't finished the last season, but it's really cool to watch from an analytic point of view of an actor, like how, and because you got to remember, for all you listening, like a script is words on a page. And it takes a human being to actually bring that to life. And a director, you know, as much as you can direct an actor, it's really up to the actor to bring it, and their determination of how they determine that something should be said in the moment, and it's up to the director to spot that, right? And I just feel like this is it's such a masterful performance. We love Tom Hardy on this show. We just love him to death. I know we do. Anyway, Peaky Blinders. Yeah.
Dude, great recommendation. This was tough. I was tempted to recommend Shop Girl. I just love Steve Martin and Claire Danes, and that's such a beautiful little film. But I'm going to recommend another. It's a little more modern. It's 10 years old, but it's another take on love, and it's called Don John. It's got everyone. Well, it's got a few people. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It's got Scarlett Johansson and Julianne Moore. And it's just a really nice look at modern day love from a very male perspective. And so it's nice. If you haven't seen it, I think it's worth a watch. At worst, you'll think it's okay. And at best, you'll really identify and appreciate some of the conversations that are going on in there. It's a little silly. It's a little comedy, but it's also very sincere. And that's a very fun combination if you can pull it off, which I think they do. So Don John, go check that out. Stay tuned for next week. There's a new movie coming out. It's called Hamnet. I don't really know what to expect. I know it's got Jessie Buckley, and I just think the world of her, and Paul Mescal, and he can be great when given the right role. And so I'm really excited to see what they do together. I think it's about where Hamlet comes from. Like, it's a play on the idea of writing Hamlet, and I don't know what that means. I haven't even seen the full trailer, so I don't know. We're gonna check that out, and I'm excited. It's a reason to go to the theater. So for no other reason but hopefully it's as good as I hope it is. Unlike this film, which you can leave a comment on if you wish at thepestlepodcast.com/cocktail.
And our quote of the day is from Zig Ziglar. Remember that failure is an event, not a person. Nice. Yeah. Nice. Means that it passes, that you can learn from it, right?
Yeah, it's not someone you're battling. It's just a thing that happened. You can learn from, you can move on. It's not haunting you. It's not always going to be in your face. You can let it go and let that be that. Like you said, you can learn from it. It's not a person who's just always trying to stalk you and confront you and pull you, right? Pull you backwards and lay you out. No, you can move on and look at it from a distance as it retreats into the past. Yeah.
Nice. Beautiful. Beautiful way to look at that. Wow. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I had a good time.
Same.
Sometimes it's fun to just tear something apart. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, hopefully you had a good time and enjoyed it. Please subscribe, review us wherever you get your podcasts, and share us with friends. It all helps a lot. If there's a film you'd like to see us talk about, or put in our 2 cents, please let us know. Maybe one day we will cover it. Until then, I'm Todd.
I'm Wes.
Go watch some movies.